Today, we're going to talk about the 9 things that destroy your personal development every single time. Hi, my name is Takara, and I'm from Deep Dive Publishers and Magnificent You. And I want to talk to you about what I call the 9 deadly sins or the 9 veils of illusion. Okay, these are things I've been teaching people for a very long time. And the way they came about is that basically I prayed about it, I knew there had to be a finite list. My background is industrial engineering, and we look for the root cause of issues. So when I was starting to look in my own life about why I wasn't happy, this was decades ago, I was at the top of my game. I was getting accolades all over the place. I was the only female manager in a pharmaceutical manufacturing facility, and I was making a lot of money. I had the things I thought I wanted, but I was miserable and I was stressed. And eventually I had a breakdown. Literally, I hit the wall. I went over the wall. I had a total meltdown. I had to be off work for a while. I had to see a psychologist, psychiatrist. I hit the wall. Okay. And the reason I teach this stuff is because I don't want you to have to go that far. But what I learned in those moments of the worst part of unhappiness and my life is falling apart and I had this mental breakdown, basically. What I learned is a lot of that was self-inflicted, right? A lot of the stress that I was putting on myself, I was generating inside my own body, inside my own head, okay? So I knew as an industrial engineer, there had to be a list, just this finite list of what are the things standing in our way. What keeps you and I and everyone else from happiness, from the career that we desire, from the love of our life and having a great relationship, from having excellent health, from having the finances that we desire versus constantly struggling financially, right? There had to be things, there had to be a core list. So I asked for them, I asked the universe, God, whatever name you'd like to choose. I sent up this request. I was like, what is the list? Okay. And then I forgot about it because I find that if you ask the question and let it go, the answer comes. Maybe not immediately, but it definitely comes. So a week or two later, after I put up that request, I got a list of 5 things. And then over the years, a few more have been added. So now we have 9. And I do believe that these are the 9 core things that are always standing in people's way. And if you look at anything that you come up with, it sort of falls under one of these as a category. So I do believe that it's a complete list and that there's not other things, okay? Now, there's some things outside of us that get in our way, but this is not a discussion about that. This is the things in our own mind and our own subconscious that stop us. And the first one of those is fear, right? We fear everything. We fear rejection. We fear what people think of us, which is also rejection. We're afraid that, we'll never have the things that we want. We're afraid that we're not worthy. We're afraid that we're not lovable. If they really knew who we really were inside, if we really expose who we are and share our deepest, darkest secrets and fears, that nobody would love us. Those are normal human fears, okay? Maybe not everybody talks about them, but those things are normal and they stop us. They stop us in a huge way, okay? They stop me, they stop you, they stop everyone. But when you start to address them and let them go, move beyond them, life changes radically, okay? The next thing on the list is limiting beliefs, okay? We believe things about ourselves and about other people and about how the world works that are just not true, okay? We believe that we're too young or we're too old or we're not educated enough or we don't have that piece of paper that say we have a degree from this or that, right? We believe that if we're not a PhD in this, then no one will take us seriously around this issue. We believe that if we're not different than we are, right? If we don't have more money or have a degree in something or come from the right family or the right part of town or, we're born into wealth or, have a certain look about us, right? Maybe we have the wrong color skin. Maybe we have the wrong shaped body. Maybe we have, again, we're too old or too young. We have all these beliefs that stop us. We believe we can't do certain things because of these silly beliefs that aren't the case. They're not the truth, but we've bought into them, right? We've bought into who we are and our limitations, right? Maybe a teacher in high school or college or grade school or somewhere told us that we were a terrible speaker or that we were a terrible writer, right? There's this woman named Lisa Nichols. She was told by, I think it was high school or college, I can't remember. She was told by them to never write and never speak because she was so terrible to just not even try. Well, she didn't listen, okay? She refused to let them tell her and limit her. And so even though that was an authority figure that most people would listen to and take in whatever they had to say, she said no. And she got $1 million book deal. Okay? That means without even selling any books at all, they gave her $1 million just to write a book. Okay? She didn't let it stop her. You can't let it stop you either, right? If they told you you couldn't draw, well, maybe they were wrong. If they told you you shouldn't do this because you're not good at it, well, screw them, right? Pardon my language, right? Forget it. Like, they don't know. They don't know who you are and your potential. Only you know that. And for the most part, we limit ourselves, right? We limit ourselves by what we think ourselves and what other people have said about us. And they're wrong, right? You can achieve practically anything. Now, there are certain things you may not be able to achieve. Like, say you are 4'10" and you want to be a pro basketball player. That may not work, okay? There's certain limitations that are legit, right? Like if you don't know how to play piano, you'll probably not play at Carnegie Hall. That doesn't mean you can't learn. Maybe you would be able to play at Carnegie Hall, but you have to learn the skill, right? But what's stopping you from doing that? Okay, that's all I'm saying. We limit ourselves. We think we cannot do it. That stops us every time. Judgments. Oh my goodness. People judge all day long. We're like these judgmental machines. Okay. We judge ourselves. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Or we judge these other people, what they're wearing, what they're saying, how they're acting. It's like it takes all our focus off of the things we should be doing that are productive, that would achieve the goals we've set for ourselves. Instead, we're like busybodies, focusing on this and focusing on that. And then there's these global judgments, which actually kind of fall into limiting beliefs, where we think that everybody that fits in this category is a certain way, right? We can think about that as political parties. We can think about that as certain religions. We can think about that as people with a certain body type or a certain skin color or whatever it is, right? It's horrible to globally judge. It's horrible to judge at all, right? But to say that every person who is this or bad or untrustworthy or whatever the belief is, like, that is terrible, okay? And it's unjust and it's untrue, right? You can take any group of people. Look at dogs, right? One of the sweetest dog breeds in the world used to be used for nannies, right? Or pit bulls. Okay, but they're known as these vicious, awful dogs. When they have an awful owner, they're an awful dog. Okay, they're brilliant animals. I had one. Smartest dog I ever met. I could teach it something once and it would always remember. Like, it was amazing, this dog. And, but it was very territorial and it's very protective and you have to know what to do with that, okay? But there's like Chihuahuas that are vicious, okay? It has nothing to do with the breed. It has to do with the environment they're in and how they've been taught, okay? Not all of certain people are terrible or hateful or judgmental or angry or want to blow up people, okay? That's just not the case. Not all people in this political party are horrible, and not all people in this political party are horrible. For the most part, people are doing the best they can, and we all have beliefs that fall in a certain line, okay? You have to judge or discern. See, there's a difference. When you're judgmental, there's a negative emotion. You're angry, you're upset, you're like, That's judgment. Discernment is observing without emotion, just observing, noticing the facts, and making a decision about whether you want to spend time with a person or not spend time with the person based on their behavior. And there's something I can tell you for sure. When you're discerning about who to spend time with, who to follow, you need to watch their actions versus their words. Because a lot of people have been taught to just say, yes, I'll do that, yes, I'll do that, and then they don't, right? And that is inauthentic. It's dishonest. There's a lot of things about that, right? We can judge that. We can make that wrong. Or we can just say, okay, I'll just see how they act. Are they nice? How do they treat waiters? How do they treat, people at different levels of society? How do they treat the custodian the same way that they treat the president of the company? Because if they don't treat them the same, they're not a nice person. That's just the truth. Okay? So ask yourself, are you a nice person? And don't judge yourself. Just change, right? Decide that everybody matters and treat them all equally with kindness, but with discernment, okay? If they're untrustworthy, if they're, always judging, always pessimistic, always negative, you probably don't want to spend a lot of time with them, right? But that is a discussion for a whole other time. All right. Expectations. Expectations are when we think that there's some shoulds in here, right? Expectations are, this is how people should behave. Or this is how this should go, right? If I do this, this should be their behavior. And when it doesn't work that way, we get upset, okay? That is unrealistic expectations. We often have them of ourselves, right? A lot of people judge themselves and have these expectations of, perfection, always being kind, never making a mistake. Well, I'll tell you a little secret. No one is perfect. No one is perfect. There's not one person walking on the planet who is perfect and has never made a mistake. You're in a human body, therefore you are an imperfect creature, right? We are ruled by our emotions. We've had trauma drama moments that impact us and cause a lot of these 9 veils of illusion. And we are not perfect, and we have bad days, and we are grumpy, and we make decisions that are not based on reason, right? We make irrational choices. We do a lot of crazy things. And the idea is to start to notice and laugh. Wow, look how silly that was being, right? If you can turn it into humor, you take all the power away from it, okay? And then it starts to release, and then eventually it's not there anymore. Let yourself off the hook, okay? You cannot be perfect. You can do the best you can. And when you fall down, clean up the mess, right? If you are angry and upset, you're grumpy today for whatever reason, maybe you don't feel well, maybe somebody mistreated you, whatever the reason is. If you had a bad day and you said something unkind to somebody, clean it up. Apologize, right? In another video, I mentioned about never use the words I am followed by the word sorry. Okay, you don't want to use those words. You just say I apologize. Sorry by itself is okay. Sorry, I was so unkind. I was having a bad day. Can I make it up to you? Those are reasonable, all right? But you have to also let other people off the hook. No one is perfect. Your kids aren't perfect. Your spouse isn't perfect. Your minister's not perfect. Or whoever you have in your life, they're not perfect. They have bad days too. They make poor decisions too, okay? Now, I'm not saying constantly be okay with bad behavior. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying everybody slips up sometimes. Am I okay with an unfaithful partner? No, I'm not. Okay, I had one. That relationship is over, right? There's certain things that are just not okay. But what's okay with you and what isn't okay with you, that's up to you, right? Open marriage is a thing. If it's okay with both people, that's a whole other deal, right? In my world, for me personally, I'm not into it, okay? But it's like, other than things like that, right? Somebody says the wrong thing, don't get upset. I was just talking to a cousin of mine and his girlfriend just last evening. We were talking about miscommunication, all right? She has a hearing problem. She's got, her hearing is not optimal. And so occasionally she misunderstands something that's said. So he had said something when they first started dating. He had said something. She had misheard it and like pouted and was upset for 45 minutes. And when he realized she was upset, they had the conversation and he realized how she'd misinterpreted his words. Well, that doesn't just happen with someone who's got a hearing issue. That happens all the time. You can misread the meaning behind texting. You can misunderstand the words somebody says. You can misread body language and think they're angry when they're not. That happens all the time. So just realize, take down the armor and the wall and have real conversations and let go of some of your unrealistic expectations of yourself and other people. All right, next one is attachments to outcomes. Okay, if you think because you scheduled something that it's always going to go right, and by the end of the day, this is what the day is going to look like, and if you hang your hat on that and you're connected to it and your happiness depends on it, well, you are in for a rude awakening. Most days you're going to be unhappy because that is not how life works. All day, every day, there are these hiccups or fires or whatever you want to call them that show up and like derail your plans. It just happens. We're in a very busy world, right? Software doesn't work. There's a car malfunction. There's a wreck on the freeway, so you can't get where you're supposed to go at a certain time. The food doesn't come fast enough, right? When you went to some nice restaurant, the food took too long. All of these are you being attached to the outcome and letting it upset you, right? Like, if you need to get to an airport and there's a wreck on the freeway and you're late and you can't make your plane, there are a lot of people that would just go ballistic over that, right? They get really angry, they get really upset, they'd stomp around and they'd let it ruin their entire day. What good does that do? It does no good whatsoever. Getting upset and angry over things out of your control is kind of dumb, okay? Just because it doesn't fix anything. And we know medically, we know scientifically that the more times you get upset, the more you're negatively impacting your own health and well-being. You owe it to yourself to take care of yourself, and that means your mental health as well. Taking care of mental health means that you don't allow yourself to get upset over trivial things. There's a book somebody wrote called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And then in small print it says, and it's all small stuff. And that's the truth, right? If whatever upset you today, if you think about it 5 years from now, would it even matter? The answer is no, right? People get upset about ball games. People get upset about traffic on the freeway. People get upset about pretty much everything, right? Because they're judging it as wrong and they have expectations that today would be different. You know what happens with what I do when the day doesn't look the way I wanted it to look? When the unexpected happens, I just pull back and I go, basically, oh, I didn't know this was what today was going to look like, right? I'm just like, okay, this is what today looks like. Okay, now that today looks different, what new decisions do I need to make? And I just go off in that direction calmly, right? Calmly, because interruptions and hiccups happen all the time. So letting it upset you is doing nothing but harming you and stopping you from achieving your goals. Because happiness and gratitude and being calm and collected and just flowing with life is how manifesting and goal achievement works best. Okay, so if you're constantly upset and you're constantly like this volatile volcano that gets upset about everything, I'm upset with what this person said, I'm upset about the freeway, I'm upset about my weight, I'm upset about, that doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve you. So just notice, laugh, look how silly I'm being. Okay, now we move on, right? We all do it. I do it too. We just have to laugh and move on. All right, next, this one's terrible. I mean, they're all kind of bad because they all stop us. I'm looking at my notes, sorry. The next one is guilt, okay? People have this list of shoulds. I should have done this differently, so you feel guilty. Or this person asked me for a favor and I just was tired and I said no and now I feel guilty. I should have helped them, or you feel like a poor child, like, I should do more for my mother or my father, as an adult child of an elderly parent. You feel like you should do more for them. Or maybe you should do more for a spouse who's ill. Or maybe you should be doing more for your kids. Your kid's struggling. Maybe you should be doing more. Like you have all these shoulds. Shoulds about your behavior and shoulds about what other people should be doing. Again, we get back to judgment and limiting beliefs. Okay? Guilt serves no one. But there are certain religions that teach guilt and make people guilty. They just do. And I'm not bashing religion. I'm saying if you're in certain cultures, they train you to feel guilty about a lot of things. And that's not healthy. Okay? So you have to decide, where am I feeling guilty, and let it go. You're doing the best you can. Okay? And if you're not doing the best you can, do a little better. But don't beat yourself up when you're not Superwoman or Superman, because no one can be. We have to have downtime. There's 4 things I think we all need. And it's based on some teachings I learned a long time ago, and I added my own. But I think that in your life, there's 4 things that need to be in equal balance: work, play, learning, and being. Work, play, learning, and being. You need to be doing all 4 in your life all the time. Every minute of every day cannot be scheduled. You can't work 3 jobs and be healthy and happy, unless it's like an hour here, an hour there. You know what I mean? People who work 16 hours a day, 6 days a week or 7 days a week, they're going to burn out so fast. They're going to destroy their health, their mental health, their physical health. It's not sustainable, okay? It's just not sustainable. You have to take downtime for hobbies. You have to spend time in nature. You have to do these things that bring you more joy, okay? Those are what you need to do. The next one is shame. Ashamed for something in the past. Shame is always about the past, and guilt is often about the past as well, right? Shame is about feeling like you're tainted, feeling like you're a bad person. Those are horrible feelings, okay? You've got to get over them. You've got to let it go. You've got to forgive yourself or the situation. You have to release it all right? You have to release it all. Next, we have blame. And that goes along with the final one, which is number 9, which is victimhood. You cannot feel like a victim and achieve dreams. If you're always looking at this thing that happened, and blaming your parent, a work situation, a friend who betrayed you, whatever it is, if you're always feeling like a victim and you're blaming a person or circumstance, you have a lot to work on, right? There are issues you need to heal. You need to forgive yourself, you need to forgive them, and you need to move on. Forgiveness does not mean that you're condoning the action. It means that whatever happened is no longer emotionally hurting you. You've let it go. You've healed your own emotional problems around it, all right? And you've let it go. So that when you tell the story, there's no longer all this emotional charge. It no longer upsets you. You no longer get a tear or get really angry when you're thinking about the situation or person. You let it go. You're like, this is what happened. It's very matter of fact because the emotions are all healed. These are the 9 veils of illusion, or the 9 deadly sins. And these are the things that stop you all the time. One of the most important things you can do to deal with all of this is to feed your mind positive thoughts and learn to think in new ways. And one of the best ways to think in new ways is to sign up for a free trial of Secrets of Success online. Okay, I'm in there. I'm a member of that. I recommend that you do it too, because they have some of the best ways to change your mindset. This is all mindset stuff, right? The best ways to change your mindset is in this training portal, in this mastermind portal, this library of old and sometimes never before published manuscripts that you can spend time with every single day to completely change your mindset and really begin to utilize things that benefit you rather than harm you. If you enjoyed this, please give it a like and ring the bell so you can get notifications. We have a lot more training to offer on this platform. Until next time.